Shruti,
Yes, sir. We can start.
are you ready?
Namaste to everyone present here. We are having the second lecture of the lecture series on Yogadharma-Kshetra, Lokasamgraha. This is the second lecture. And in the first lecture, we had an overview of the Western thought process and also an introduction to the Indian terms. This week, we will be looking more deeply into the same theme. So I welcome all of you to this lecture. I also thank Professor Shive Chaturvedi ji for his enlightening lectures. Thank you, sir.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
And can you see the screen?
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you. So we are all set. Okay. Om Sri Gurubhyo Namo Namaha. Om Sri Ganeshaya Namo Namaha. Om Sri Ved Purushaya Namo Namaha. Om Sri Vak Devyai Namo Namaha. Om Sri Saraswati Namo Namaha. Om Angirasaya Namo Namaha. Om Kapilaya Namo Namaha. Om Gargaya Namo Namaha. Om Vedavyasaya Namo Namaha. Om Dharmaya Namo Namaha. Om Sri Radha Krishna Abhyam Namo Namaha. I bow down to Samasta Matra Shakti. I bow down to all the audience, current and future audience. I bow down to all the acharyas, all the saints, all the sages, all the sadhus, all the jnanis and vijnanis. I bow down to entire Brahmand, all the varnas. Thank you so much for joining me. Again, this is the second session. And we will make this Tirth Yatra together. So bear with me. I would request you to please note the topic has yet to be introduced because we need first 2-3 sessions for orientation. Prepare us to achieving a transparent conceptual cognitive mirror. And this will require, this preparation will require the following steps. To get rid of the clouds of conceptual coloniality and confusions, so that we can have an enhanced understanding of the worldviews, Vedic worldview as well as Western worldview. To get rid of some of the preconceived and prejudiced notions about the Vedic worldviews by themselves. There are so much confusion, conflict, contradiction, paradoxes that you will find in the Vedic wisdom traditions and the way they are articulated and presented and written about. There are plenty of those. And then to expand the field of consciousness. Very, very important. I will dwell later on in the future lectures, the very foundation of consciousness and how it can shrink, how it can be widened, it can pervade the entire universe, it can pervade the entire body and the society. At the same time, it can shrink to very, very a small point and small field where nothing really becomes important or everything becomes meaningless and the life becomes absurd. Again, please note, when I'm talking about the Vedic worldview versus Western worldview, I just want to make certain in front of you that Western worldview is not the wholly alien and other, but can be explained. We will do later on as the time comes in, as a subfield of Vedic paradigms. So the Vedic paradigms, Vedic ideas, Vedic foundation does include the totality in all aspects of the existence. So just want to keep you informed about it. Few concluding remarks from the previous lesson. And actually, if you look at the contemporary human experiences, different departments, different fields within departments, from anthropology to zebra, you'll find differentiation, the process differentiation, process of separation, and then fragmentation followed by complete breakaway. So for example, in today's world, if I walk down in the aisles of prestigious academia in Department of Science and Technology, and if I tell them that, yes, I belong to Department of Humanities, Social Sciences, or Religious Philosophy, I will be considered to be alien. I will be asked, what are you doing here? Similarly, and vice versa. So there is a fundamental disconnect and discontinuity. So people working in one field cannot communicate with the people working in another field. They have so much separation. And as a result, newer trend has come up in what we call interdisciplinary approach. The technology advances have changed, they have their own vocabulary, every field has their own vocabulary. So this is a very, very important to keep in mind. Blind faith, I have talked about in first lecture, by ignoring their limits and feasibility in the contemporary mechanics material scientific paradigms. Sometimes it becomes what we call delusion about that we have new God appeared on the horizon. Science and technological paradigms, Google and artificial intelligence, and they will help us to swim through this world and give us a fundamental meaning to the existence. So if we have to keep in mind the limits and falsifiability of the blind and the corresponding blind faith in the contemporary human experiences, then there is damaging dissociation, disconnect from the foundational doctrines of Vedic worldview, leading conceptual civilization, slavery, and maladies of all kinds at degree with different levels of human and natural world. And this is an existential threat to humanity. We have talked about this in the first session. And this first session, you can go back and look at the Google class website, and we will be uploading all these slides over there as well as the audio. Contemporary field of melody, if I, instead of all trial and tribulations, all ifs and buts, this is really the gist. Trouble with the rat race is that even if you win, you are still a rat. In the Western academia and Western intellectual world, if you ask personally to someone and see what kind of race you are in, they say, I'm in rat race. We have neither a committed desire nor time for learning because we are in a rat race. Indian intellectuals have even lesser commitment to learning. I immensely appreciate and offer my obeisances to all the audience that they could spare their valuable time to make this journey or Tirth Yatra together. So welcome to Tirth Yatra into Vedic world. And we will keep in mind Saktameva Jayate. I just wanted to re-emphasize that as a speaker, I will be as honest, as candid, as truthful as I can be, based on my first experience in India as well as in Western academic world. Whether you're talking about science and technology, you're talking about humanities, or you're talking about arts. This is a first-hand experience that I'm going to work with and give you some deeper insights. So you do not have to read 100 books on each subject. My journey started in America 40 years ago. And my learning started from ancient Greek tradition. And then slowly and slowly, I went back to our wisdom, translated to bits and pieces here and there in English. I was not happy at all, not satisfied at all. Then I had to go back to the original scriptures, starting with Rig Veda. This is the background I come from. Now, what is this walking together? This is called Sakha Bhav, and I fully agree with this definition. Don't walk behind me, I may not lead. Don't walk in front of me, I may not follow. Just walk beside me and be my friend. This is the quotation by great philosopher Albert Camus, who was a author, dramatist, journalist, philosopher, and he was the second youngest recipient of Nobel Prize in 1944. He also said towards his philosophical thought process that life is absurd. The humble reminder, this course will discuss not only theoretical abstract ideas and concepts, which are challenging, but also bring how they can be mapped onto practical, pragmatic levels for a positive transformation towards enlightened living and beyond. This is what is going to be the course, not only abstract thinking, abstract ideas, but how these ideas can be translated into modern day living, thinking, and acting. So I need your earnest help. I need your active participation, engaging participation, not passive. And I invite your suggestions, comments. Be a candidate to explore further. Write and present a term paper. Anyone who is interested to deep down further into any of these topics, I will be with you. You can start digging in. I will help you, guide you. And so one can really be comfortable to devote some time. Bring in younger generation, active professional to participate. Ask questions, but related to present material itself. Sometimes we have a tendency to ask questions which are not related to the present material, present session, but they come from futuristic session. Restrict ourselves to ask questions so that we need a background built up slowly and slowly. Additional questions that we cannot ask here, you can go back on the Google Classroom website and you could place your question there and I will try to answer them ASAP. My humble request to be aware of what you are aware of, because a lot of confusion, conflict, contradictions, my frustrations was due to the mistranslation and misarticulation of the Vedic wisdom tradition. Most of the Yoga Dharma technical Sanskrit terminology is untranslatable into one-to-one English language. But it has been done on one-to-one terminology, one-to-one basis. As a result, creates a lot of confusion, conflict, and misunderstanding. Unavailability of equivalent cognitive, emotional, conceptual entities. The language, Sanskrit language versus English language, they have two different cognitive fields. So one-to-one translation will not bring us a good correspondence between two different cognitive fields, conceptual as well as emotional. So this is where the categories in the Western world are different. Classification is different, but you will find some similarities as we go along. We will talk about at the appropriate time. Lots of popular books, other media communication have also contributed corruption, pollution, uprooting Vedic wisdom tradition. Due to significant variability in pre-required knowledge and experience, I may not be able to effectively communicate with all of you at the same time, because you have their own wonderful, beautiful knowledge, wisdom, and experience. So, and every course of this level, even this, the first level course I'm giving you, presenting you, even this requires lots of background, and a real background, experiential background. Very important experiential background, not a superficial, informational background. I will try to make it easy as much as possible, and I beg your pardon in advance. I will try to use my best, the original Sanskrit terminology, and they define those Sanskrit terms in varieties of equivalent or closer to equivalent English terms. Not one-to-one, but you will see a different, a wide variety, a multidimensional. So we have to keep in mind that whenever you are going to talk about, there is a field of information that you can go on Google or newspaper or books, field of information. Then the field of knowledge. From information, you go to deeper to knowledge, acquire knowledge. Then from third field is acquired wisdom. And wisdom comes through dhyana yoga. You have to meditate, concentrate, contemplate on that knowledge that you have acquired. And once you are in dhyana yoga, you will be able to experience that wisdom hidden behind the other layers. Very important. And eventually, when I talk about epistemology, theory of knowledge, I will also address another dimension which is unique, called the Kshetra. Dhimasta dhimai dhyo yo na prachodayat. So how do we see the contemplative mind? This is a beautiful, beautiful reflection of the outer world into the inner world of the underwater. And if you are of any one of us are in the same tuning process, if we are transparent enough to listen to what is being told, what is being said, and if there is a very transparent and clean mapping, then this is very, very important. What will happen? it clear out our mindset from the preconceived notions and prejudices. So keep this image in mind, please. Just a reminder again, the powerful ideas. The worldview shape of civilizations, cultures, tradition, and meaning and purpose of existence in all its diversity, plurality, and complexity. Vedic worldview is very different, antithetical, and unique in many dimensions from those of Abrahamic worldviews and contemporary mechanist materials dominant worldview. Vedic worldview, though, have some similarities in a kind of degree, some of the emerging contemporary field of human experiences in various fields of knowledge, and I believe pointing those out as we go along. Also, you will notice, with due respect to all of you, my slides may appear to be overcrowded, because the reason behind is this. These slides have to be available to the class participant, others. So you can, in detail, you can look at those linguistic expressions and comments to ponder further upon. Simply hearing without, if I put down simply bullet items, later on, it will be difficult even for me to go back and see what does it mean really here. So that's the reason I have, too much information and too much knowledge and too much wisdom in each of these slides. What are they? We always keep talking about colonizing forces. Let me give you, there are two primary forces, external forces, internal forces. What are the colonizing fields? Political, legal, educational, mental, and conceptual, linguistical, cultural, etc. The wide, almost every field of knowledge in the contemporary world has what you call the elements of colonization. And if you look at the by and large, every Indian field, including the politics, including education, or even the declaration and ideas put forward by many thinkers, religious leaders, political leaders, they have a tint of colonial expression. This is the today in nutshell. This is the today's dominant worldview. You are a separate individual among other separate individuals in a universe that is separate from you as well. There is no purpose, only cause. The universe is at bottom, blind and dead. This is a 2019, a very wonderful thinkers. Whatever quotations I'm making, whatever ideas I'm bringing in, they have basis in some of the best thinkers and writers from all over the world. This is the bottom line of in all the fields, separation, separation, separation. And this is going on, differentiation going on. As a result, we cannot do yogic integration, which is the foundational aspect of Vedic wisdom. Through differentiation, the world gets apart and separation. How do you bring it back? Through yogic integration, look at the whole diversity and variegatedness into one unified field, my dear friends. So big question is, let's look at the Western world or look. Big question is, do we, the people of Bharat, have to blindly imitate the Western world view and its thought patterns and culture? Why did I put down this question here? My dear listeners, this is the background. To accept modern Western epistemological theories without highlighting their cultures and social particularity is to remain with a long and well-established tradition of Western arrogance about the superiority of Western ways of understanding the world. This attitude and corresponding linguistic expressions and ideas are the basis for colonial subjugation, Western arrogance. Look at the Western culture. If I put down this you can also call Eurocentric, hegemonic. The West has birthplace in Greece and Rome, followed by Judeo-Christianity, European Renaissance, Romanticism, and Enlightenment. So the equation is West equal to Athens, Jerusalem, Florence, Paris, and London combined together. And this is claimed in the Western culture tradition. West did not borrow, did not do appropriation or copy from other cultures, which are called barbarians. The position of India or Bharat, place of barbarians or savages, her people, slaves, born and are destined to remain slaves. This is the impression still existing, and the elites of intellectual elites of some of the Indian traditions or Indian fields and the Western fields. If you go back and look at even daily pronouncement by groups like ultra-liberals, communists, the Christians, the Islamists, and many others, you will find these kind of attitudes toward India and her civilization. And you can see here very clearly, India, Bharat became India. I'm not going to dwell upon it. I can give a separate lecture, India versus Bharat. This is again, we did not name the country as Bharat, but India or Bharat. They are not equivalent at all. So you say, well, why you're bringing in this colonial mentality into picture now? This is 21st century, and I'm going to answer this question. These are the two individual personalities. On the left, you will find out European Union Foreign Policy Chief, Joseph Borrell. On the right, you will find out the Foreign Ministry official, Maria of Russia. Let's see what they have to say. This is the very recent one, October 14, 2022. What a Eurocentric, imperialistic mindset of European elites and politicians, which is still alive and powerful, which remains hidden normally, but sometimes it comes out. My dear friends, I have first-hand experience going to this Western mental world. Joseph Borrell, he says, Europe is a garden. We have built a garden and most of the rest of the world is a jungle. And the jungle could invade the garden, so be careful. So Europe is a garden. Others are barbarians. They were jungly, and they were really the whole space of their experience was a jungle. And Russia responds very, very powerfully. say, garden was built by plundering the jungle, plundering and looting rest of the so-called barbarians by Western colonialists, the Western powers. This is what they have done to every other. And it's still going on, though subtly. They cannot express this openly in the current geopolitical situation, but internally, majority of them have a similar thought. Where the blueprint for conquest, it goes on to, in 1455, Pope Nicholas V, he issued a papal bull authorizing Portuguese king. Remember, the Portugal came into southern part of India and colonized it first, capture, vanquish, and subdue enemies of the Christ, and to reduce their persons to perpetual slavery. This was the first of the papal bulls of discovery, orders by infallible Pope to enslave, spoliate, and subjugate, because non-Christians were heathen. These are heathens, they are barbarians. They have to be converted to the enlightenment and civilization. Now, new history is coming up. This is 2023. And this really historical research and writing is really vigorously repudiate the Western-centric school of history. The best is the concept of single cultural inheritance extending from ancient Greece to modern time. The only problem is it is a lie. It is written by, in 23 or 22, by very distinguished historian, which is unveiling the hidden structure of colonial mentality. Let me go the internal force a little bit, talk about briefly, give you examples. Neo-Vedanta. In an Asian context, the Western influenced New Vedanta of Indians, such as Ram Mohan Roy, Mahatma Gandhi, Vivekananda, Aurobindo, and Radhakrishnan, has played a seminal role in the construction of contemporary notions of Hinduism as a universal religion. This influence is so prevalent that today what most religion education courses mean, Hinduism is a colonially filtered and retrospective Vedantization of Indian religion. Very, very powerful thinker from Oxford published the book, Dr. Richard King. In this Vedantization, ignored Vedant, Vaishnava Darshana, Sankhya Yoga, as well as Vaisishik Darshan and Vedic Karmakand, as well as all the wisdom of India in every field of knowledge. It has been observed that some of the scriptures talk about 64 kinds of knowledge being given to the people and students in India. Now look at our own leader, so-called father of the nation. And I had to read these quotations fully to make some sense out of it. Gandhi was entirely comfortable with the English and claimed to like them. He said that if he had been English, he would have done exactly what the English were doing in India. Hardly ever have I known anybody, he said, to cherish such a loyalty as I did to the British Constitution in my youth. I vied with Englishmen in loyalty to the throne. This is the Walter Reed recent book. You must read, keep the jewel in the crown, British betrayal of India. And I was trying to look at for a long time, what is the mentality of a fundamental ground for actions and policies and language and expressions of Gandhi and Nehru. Why Mr. Gandhi chose Mr. Nehru, not Mr. Patel, to lead India? Mr. Nehru was also an Englishman garbed in an Indian dress. They have quite commonality in terms of their thought process and how do they implement the colonial educational system in India. Just briefly, I will not elaborate. I need a whole session for it. So you might be wondering about where the Hindu and Hinduism term come from in popular imagination and writing. According to, this was probably Nathaniel Hall had 1776. A code of Gentile laws was gradually supplanted in 19th century by references to religion of Hindus with capital O, double O. Hinduism, if we look at the Oxford Dictionary, 1829, and also Max Muller, the great Orientalist, 1858, a reference to Bengal, volume 45. This is where Hinduism is referred. Dermot Killingly writes the reference to Ram Mohan Rai in 1816. Mr. Rai was probably the first Hindu to use word Hinduism. Our great personalities, I bow down to them, but they have something inherently embedded that will paint a different picture of the Vedic worldview, which is still with us. Creation of so-called religions, religion but dharma, I'm going to talk about in future slides, probably next session or so, depending upon how much time I have. Inapplicability of Western notions of religion to the traditional Asia has not only led to the piecemeal errors of labeling, identification, and classification, to conceptual confusion, and to some name calling. It is also responsible for something more extraordinary, the creation of so-called religions, Hinduism, Hindu religion. And it, to my mind, it is the greatest tragedy happened. And this is written by Professor Frigistal, one of the iconic figures in the Western tradition, who has written a lot of books. And I think he is one of my most favorite rishi in contemporary world, Professor Frigistal. Richard King, one hardly need mention the extent to which Ram Mohan Rai conception of the Hindu religion was conditioned by European, Muslim, and Unitarian theological differences. And the same by Western scholars, Roy as defined as the father of modern India. Very thoughtful and Satya statement. Europe has become the chosen home of materialism, agnosticism, and scientific atheism. Materialism may dominate the Western world, may someday have its corrective in the purified Adhyatma philosophy, which has its home in India. This is written by William Thomas Stead long time ago, that ultimately, no matter what different models and ideas, paradigms dominate temporarily the Western worldview, they had to go back to Vedic wisdom tradition, which is the original form of the pristine wisdom. We cannot reduce meaning of dharma to one general principle, nor there is a single translation that would cover all the uses. Nevertheless, there is a coherence in this variety. It reflects the elusive yet undeniable coherence of Hinduism itself, its particular unity in diversity. It's a Professor Wilhelm Helfast, very, very prominent. He had written a book in 1988, India and Europe. These are the stalwarts and the intellectuals of the Western world. When they delve into the deeper understanding of the world itself, this is what they had to say. Beautiful, wonderful. And Shrutiji, do I have some more time?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I will take few more minutes to introduce what you call before we go to the Santi Mantra, untranslatability of Sanskrit terminology into one-to-one English. There are hundreds of such technical terms, and they give me and everyone else, even Western thinkers, have identified this phenomena. Niti, for example, the word niti, Rajniti, for example, niti word, equivalent word is not found one-to-one. Equivalent word is not found either in Greek, Latin, English, German language. It was born in 1920 when a professor translated what you call the Panchatantra into English. He had warned the readers in the very preface. He wrote, Atman Purusha is not soul or spirit. Paramatman, Brahman, Purushottam, Bhagwan, not an Abrahamic God. Prakriti, not nature, but nature an aspect of Prakriti. Maya is not illusion. Maya does create illusions too. Yoga is not mysticism. Dharma is not religion. The greatest tragedy when Dharma-Kshetra became religion. That's what happened. Spirituality and other cognate derivatives are not adhyatma. Spirituality is so common. Most websites, Indian thinkers, religious leaders, everyone starts with the spirituality. I don't know what you're really talking about if you delve deeply into the origin of spirituality itself. It does not connote directly one-to-one with adhyatma at all. And that, let me define here, soul and spirit. In Hebrew, it is called Ruach. In Latin, it's called anima spiritus. In Greek, it's called psyche and pneuma. In German, it's called nous and geist. In Old Testament, it's called nepes. Psychological appears to more than 754 times. New Testament is called soul and spirit, Greek psyche. It was borrowed, actually, concept of soul was borrowed implanted in the Christianity by Saint Augustine. In Quran, it's called Ruh, wind or breath. Typical contemporary idea, good souls, beautiful souls, deep souls, large souls, wicked souls, wounded souls, foolish souls, food for souls, physical therapy for souls, an endless variety of these souls that are being talked about. And I don't know what it means. It means simply breath, or the what you call the breath of life and psychic faculty. There is some overlap between Quran and the Bible in their theological uses of Ruh and Ruh. Both use the term for breath and wind to refer to God's creative breath of life. From Christian Bible, you will see here soul. At death, the soul ceases to think or feel and returns to the dust of from which it was made. So soul was made of dust. It returns to dust. It dies out. And these are some of the references. You can look at those by yourself. So conclusion is breath and life or psychic faculty, nothing to do with Atman or Purusha. Similarly, the old spiritual terms, French spiritualists. Spirituality comes from biblical faith, relation between God and man. What it means to be spiritual, not religious. They were interchangeable terms before the 20th century. But spiritual now becomes private realm of thought and experience. Religious becomes the public realm, membership in religious institution, participation in the formal rituals, adherence to officially dominated doctrines. Many denominational doctrines use the term religion, and there is a fundamental separation has taken place between spiritual and religious, and spirituality and religion. Because of this fact, this leads to what he called separation of the state from the religion, and emergence of what he called the secularity. What is then Atman? Compare with the Atman, is a part and parcel of Paramatman Purushottam, ontological reality, mysterious and absolute bliss, self-existing, self-knowing, self-effulgent, drashta, super-conscious, some source of the consciousness, the foundation of all the existence, immutable, non-decaying, imperishable, non-physical, non-material, worthless, deathless, eternal. Is it localized as it within the each and every living entity, not non-localized within time and space, and all pervading as Brahman, yet beyond and above time and space, basically different and antithetical to material world, capable of instantaneous intercommunication. I'm giving you some of the primary characteristics that I have taken down from wide variety of sources scattered in the Vedic wisdom tradition. Anonymous and free, yet the source and vehicle as Jivatman for rebirth and transmigration. Capable of complete separation of material entanglement and separation from human bodies, which is called moksha, nirvana, or emancipation. Mysterious identity in difference. Atman is Brahman. Not identity, but identity in difference. Usually defined in contextual paradoxical framework, what it is and what it is not. So please never use soul, spirit, or ruh as the Atman or Purusha. It is simply breath or human psyche or human breathing. Because soul never used to exist, even in women in the Christian tradition. Soul never exists in any of the other animal world or the sentient world, which is now being recognized by contemporary scientific biological field that is not true. They have consciousness, they are lively, and they have lot of other characteristics, just like human beings. Now another term comes out to be, let me see what I have. Okay, I think I will stop here before I go further, and then let us sing the Shanti mantra together. Om Sahana Vatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahi Tejasunavati Tumastu Ma Vidyusavahi. Om Santi Santi Santi. This is the kind of attitude and instincts and mental makeup we must together. We must dance together. We must sing together. We must cry together. We must get ready to fight against the demonic powers and enemies. Let us never be poisoned with the seeds of hatred for anyone. Let there be peace and serenity. Om Santi, Santi, Santi. Thank you so much again. I apologize to all of you for any offenses that I may have committed during this presentation. I have gone through probably rather quickly, but I think these slides will be available to you so you can go back and ponder upon them more thoughtfully, carefully, and deeply. But each and every topic that I have covered, each and every quotation that I have added, each and every viewpoint that I have illustrated, my own viewpoint, Vedic viewpoint, it requires actually a lot of advanced understanding and training, a prerequisite. So I really bow down to all of you for listening to. Thank you so much. Now I'm ready to question and answer session.
Sir, Professor, I have a question.
Yeah.
Why should we equate Ru or Rua with breath?
Ru and Rua with?
Breath.
Breath. Yeah. This is how it is defined. That is in the original scripture. That's how defined. That's how interpreted. That's how translated. Two different breath of life or human psyche. These are the two distinct concepts. They are used in the Judeo-Christian tradition, including the Western scientific world. They do not recognize an independent, eternal entity like Atman. The tradition goes back. If you go back and look at the dying process in the other traditions and how the dead bodies are treated and how they do not do cremation, but they do what you call the burial of their dead bodies. All the research, all the teachings, they depend on this ruh or the nefesh or psyche or soul. They are nothing but two, either breath of life or psyche of life. These two concepts together are part of the prakritic world that we will be talking about later on. Nothing to do with the Atman, Purusha, or Paramatma.
Thank you, Professor.
Yes, any other questions? I will invite more questions from the audience that will help me to learn more and more. Please, my request is, if there are no more questions, I want to make a final request to all of you. These slides will be, and the talk will be posted out continuously on the classroom website. Please go back and look at those, contemplate through it. And if you have any questions, further questions, you can write the questions on that website and I will be answering to those as time goes by. And also I will require to have request to all of you, consider something, even a small topic that you can investigate by yourself and write a small paper or make a small presentation. Then we can learn together even more deeply on one or the other topic. So I think Keshav Goyalji is asking what is the classroom website. I think Shruti will provide you that. Shruti, can you write down the link for the website in question answer session?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Answer. She will provide. And also my next talk will be coming on July 1st, Saturday, 8 a.m. morning Pacific time. And then followed by 15th July, 29th July, August 12, August 26. Also, if you look at the flyer that is being sent to you, if you scroll down all the way toward the end, there is a website link is given for the classroom. Yes, that's right. That's that. Thank you. Thank you, Shruti. Thank you so much.
Pleasure, sir.
Anything else at the moment? If not, then again, humble pranam and namaste to all. See you on July 1st. Please do come back. I would appreciate. You are so kind. You are so beautiful. Thank you.